This is a counseling telehealth practice video. My name is Keandria Green. This is my volunteer, Marquise Matthews. How you doing, Marquise?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. This video is for educational purposes only. It's not a real video, but feel free to express yourself the way you normally would in a real session, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what brings you in today? How may I help you?
All right. I'm actually in today because I want to speak about some struggles that I'm having, trying to come to grips, so to speak, of me taking a huge step in my life and deciding to choose a new career path. And I know I take somewhat of a responsibility and accountability on that. And as far as it was one of those situations where I was in a situation at my previous job where I had to make a change, more of a life altering change, which meant I had been employed there for over 10 years and decided to drastically make a change, not only to better myself, but to also better the values of my family and try to, get us to that next level, um, and better ourselves in the future.
Mhm.
It was one of them things where I went to my employer and I voiced my opinions on, you know, how I wasn't satisfied with the money I was making. I felt like I was one of the better employees that had put forth the best effort to be one of the best employees there. But I felt like they still, even when I went to them and gave them all of the not excuses, but legitimate reasons as to why I had to make this change,
Mhm.
and they weren't able to see eye to eye, or where I was coming from, because I did do the right thing and give them a 2 weeks notice. Uh, so I felt in my heart that they reserved the notion to try to talk to me within that 2 weeks, to sit down and, if I was in their position, I wouldn't want to let an employee as myself with such of a high quality rate, walk out the door without trying to at least meet them halfway. And I think what my situation is that I'm kind of having, you know, uh, more so not regrets, but kind of almost as if I'm putting punishment on myself for what I did, knowing that I didn't have anything, lined up. So as when I walked out the door, I could have walked into something else. But it wasn't an overnight um, idea. This was something that I voiced with my wife and my family, and this was something that we needed to do.
Mhm.
So, and it was only a confirmation when I found out that they really wasn't trying to meet me halfway and try to, you know, come up with the best solution to keep me there. So I know that I did everything the right way, but it's just that sometimes I kind of beat myself up and kind of like, go into the, well, what if or maybe I should have. And then it kind of gets like, I know I made the right decision, but in my mind, it's like, I see that thought kind of brainstorming, like maybe I shouldn't have did that, or maybe I should have did this. So sometimes I kind of beat myself up on that, and it's like I get into a place where, I don't really want to be around nobody. I just want to be by myself. And I'm not really a loner type person. I like to be, you know, uh, a breath of fresh air, so to speak, for people when I make an acquaintance or whatever. So
Mhm.
I think the reason why I'm talking to you today is to try to get out of that dark space in my mind of maybe I did the wrong thing, but I think I did the right thing, which I know I did the right thing.
Okay.
So
Okay. So it sounds like you came at a crossroad for a hard decision that you were going to have to make financially for your family. You have to, choose between your family and your job, or just a situation that needed a abrupt change.
right.
And it sounds like you had high hopes that, once you explained the situation, and because you are a quality worker, that you had high hopes that they would meet you halfway and possibly try to help you make arrangements to, keep your job.
Right,
But unfortunately, y'all weren't able to come to an agreement on what could be done, and you had to make the decision that you really didn't want to make, but you did it anyway. So now you're
right,
feeling a little bit kind of in a weird space because you don't have anything lined up at the moment, and you're trying not to lose yourself while you're trying to wait for your next door to open.
right. And it was really one of those things where, you gotta understand that, and I'm kind of, I'm a religious person, so I kind of make sure I keep my mind into the word every now and then when I feel like I'm getting too far away. I try to,
Mm-hmm.
bring myself back into it. But with that being said, I know God wouldn't have given me something that I couldn't handle. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So I know I did the right thing, and I know that if I would have stayed, maybe I would have been blocking my new blessings by staying there,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that they really wasn't trying to level me up uh or at least listen to some of the suggestions that I might have had as far as you know for instance, I wanted to move from night shift to day shift so I could be home with my kids more,
Mm-hmm.
and do things in the evening with my family instead of being at work until 2 o'clock in the morning. Simple things like just putting me on the day shift, or if you want to pivot to the fact that I asked for a little bit more money. Excuse me. So I've been there for almost 10 years, and I felt like if I come to you and say, hey, I've been out here, I've been busting my ass trying to make sure that everything is done according to how the specs are supposed to go with quality, making sure everything is on time, making sure everything is not defected. Do those things, but I felt like that they weren't trying to meet me halfway and understanding that that was something that they really could have banked on and be like, you know what? I understand where you're coming from. We understand where you're coming from, and this is what we can do.
Okay.
That type of conversation never happened. So it felt like I was only, you know, more than ready to do what I was already planning to do anyway. And then I
Mm-hmm.
decided to do it the right way. I decided to give a 2 weeks notice. I decided to not only give a 2 weeks notice, but to I didn't even go straight to HR. I went straight to the general manager because I felt like me and the general manager had a good enough relationship where he could have, been like, hey man, let's sit down and talk about this and let's see what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the type of conversation. So it was more of a, well, where are you going next? Or who are you going to? Or what are they going to pay you? Or it was like he went into a bid mode instead of trying to see what we could do to make this thing work. And the biggest thing that, my previous employer always uh one of the things that they always promoted themselves on was family.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like at that moment, I was just a regular, employee. I wasn't part of the family. So
Mm-hmm.
I had to make a move. But, even though I think maybe what I do is I tend to think about it too much, I tend to overthink it. And then it's like in my mind, I start thinking, well, maybe I did the wrong thing. But it's certain things that are showing up here and there, just letting you know, like, hey, you doing the right thing. Just stay active on the road and just keep driving that direction. Like
Mm-hmm.
picking up my daughter from school, taking my son to daycare, being able to greet my wife when she come in from work and stuff like that. So, I think I've done the right. I know I've done the right thing. But again, like I say, sometimes I just kind of get into a lost space where it's like that gray area where you start to second guess your chance. I mean, your choices and regret taking a chance on yourself. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I did this whole movement for was to I said I'm gonna take a bet on myself because I
Mm-hmm.
know it work, So I just feel like maybe you can help me, give me some of those qualities that I can use to, take my mind out of that space from time to time.
Okay. Yeah, so it sounds like you invested a lot of your time into a job, and you like I said before, you had high hopes that, you could, have a great career there. But you kind of hit a point where you needed to make some adjustments and they weren't able to meet you there. And right now it feels like you're kind of disappointed, not only in them, but in your situation, because this is not something that you probably, it wasn't the most ideal situation.
Right.
And you're kind of going back and forth on if you did the right thing, and just trying to have confidence that everything will work out, even though it didn't end the way you wanted to end. It wasn't the most convenient ending for you. You still looking for ways to stay positive and move forward in the right direction.
Right. Right. Um, and that's exactly what those are some of the things that I've been saying to myself. And then, I continuously tell myself, like, hey, you made the right decision. You're only going to go up from here. You know what you're worth. You know that whatever the next chapter is going to be more and more blessings coming from that. And so I sometimes get, like I said, I get into that space, but then I kind of, try to do those like mind exercises of keeping myself positive and understanding that I got something waiting for me on the other side.
Hmm.
Um, and I do that as much as I can, but then like nothing's perfect. So every now and then it's like you get sucked into that situation, and then you kind of stagnant thinking about that for a second, and then it kind of like drifts you into another space. But um, I want to get to a point where I don't allow it to affect how I handle myself around other people. As far as I'm not a person that wants to push away from people.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it'll get to a point where people are trying to call me, I won't answer the phone, or I don't respond to text messages because I'm in a certain space. So
Hmm.
that's one of the main things, that I am speaking to you about it is because I want to get out of that part of it. Like I want to get out of my own way and just
Hmm.
understand that what I did was a great decision, and I'm going to see the benefits of it when it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough starting over. But I feel like it's important to also, remember that you do have 10 years of work experience at one place, which is very hard to do. And in those 10 years, I'm sure you gain a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge, a lot of leadership qualities that will
Right.
help you take you into your next career. And one thing that no job can take from you is your abilities, your skills, and your ambition. So just I think remaining confident in who you are and what you bring to the table will help you kind of shift into your faith, your worries and your concerns, and any of your reservations. You are a faithful man, so I think prayer, whenever those discouraging thoughts creep up, or you
Right.
start getting into a dark depressive phase, so where it's natural. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
when you feel that happening, I think prayer and being in your word, scripture, positive conversations with friends and families, instead of avoiding, maybe you could, talk to people that you really trust more because you
Mhm.
need them. You know what I mean? So just kind of relying on your support system. What do you think about those things?
I think those things could help. I'm already. I would say I'm already. Applying some of those uh, attributes to myself to help me get along with this situation. But I can always do more. So I will try to apply all of those things that you just said, and I will make sure that I won't allow myself to drift too far into my own thoughts about something that's already done. So I believe at this point now I'm only focused on what's happening in the future. What's next? I can no longer think about you know what I did because it's over with. And now since I've done that, it's preparing me for the next steps. So I believe those things that you told me just now would really help. Um, and I'm going to make sure I apply those things to any other situation that I have moving forward because not only just this type of situation, but it could be something smaller or bigger,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes the same capacity to think about it for you to be like, hey, I don't know if I did the right thing. But like you said, if you just remain confident and just keep telling yourself like, hey man, you doing it, you got it, it's gonna be all right. And that's what I be doing. So um I really appreciate, those things that you say because I really believe that they will help. And
Hmm.
I will try to apply those as much as possible.
Okay. And just to amplify that even more, is there any other coping things you can do to keep your mind clear while you're going through this transition?
Um, well, to be honest, whenever I get into uh, those spots or those moments where I feel like I'm overthinking and I'm kind of like getting down on myself, and I just feel like it's just one of them days.
Hmm.
Uh, I'll revert to something that makes me feel, you know, good and happy and keeps me upbeat, and that's I'm a DJ.
Hmm.
So, I love music. I have a passion for music. So if I find myself in that or getting into that mode, I'll exit myself from that and I'll go and get on my turntables, put my headphones on, and kind of drown off into the music. But I get into a mode of, feeling good about myself again and understanding that my life is really a upbeat, like a song that I like. My life is upbeat. I want to keep it going. I want to keep progressing. And that's one of the things that I truly believe that can bring me back to a centerpiece whenever I start to get into a gray area about that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is one thing that I do.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, especially anything involving music. It allows you to kind of detach from, thinking about or kind of obsessing over a situation or a problem or your feelings in general. It's a
Right.
great way to, shift your energy and make you feel good. And music is always a healing tactic that I always recommend. If
Right.
you like music, so I would like just to kind of summarize it. 'Cause I think you had a great point right now. It sounds like you had to make a difficult decision, and to leave a job, it'll be difficult for anybody to make that decision. But
Right.
you also did it for your family. So I'm sure it meant a lot to your family that you did something and sacrificed something that meant that much to you. So I'm glad, I'm sure they're there to support you through this journey. In the meantime, while you're looking for your next opportunity, waiting for that next door to open, you're just going to try to remain strong and remain focused and
Right.
do enjoyable activities like using your support system whenever you feel like it. If you don't feel like using your support system, you're going to, resort to doing what you love to do, which is being a DJ and listening to music and kind of keeping your energy on the up and up and remaining
Yeah.
positive.
Keep it positive. That's what it's all about. Right.
Yeah, and good things will happen. It just sometimes things take time, but in the meantime, you can also do things to make sure that you're in a good place and you're ready to receive those blessings and, your faith remains strong through it all because that's how, blessings come your way is faith.
Absolutely. Yeah. I,
Yeah.
I, I totally agree.
Okay. Well, I think we have reached a good stopping point. And next session we'll pick this back up, and I'll check in with you, see where you are. But in the meantime, just homework. Continue to do those positive things. Continue to remain focused on positive activities. Keep your energy positive, and go from there.
All right. I thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate all of the qualities that you instilled into my capacity of thinking to make sure that I do what I need to do to stay positive.
Yes, sir. Think you'll do great. See you next week.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
Goodbye.